Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Economic Truth Report number 18. And today we got a lot of stuff that we got to go into. And of course, we got to look at, the collapse of pension funds that happened in England. And we're going to look at Credit Suisse, that are on the verge of collapse. We're going to look at the yen that is in deep trouble right now. And we're going to look at a lot more stuff. We're going to take a look at what's going on with the war between Russia and Ukraine, well, Russia and NATO. And we're going to look at, the details of the gut of the financial system to actually see if, some of my hunches about that we're in trouble might be true or not. Okay, so let's get started. Of course, we always get started with a market update, macroeconomic market update. And today, let's start with currencies. And there's been a lot of interesting things in both currencies and in financial markets, of course. We're gonna look at the monthly and see what's happening here. And as you could see here, oh, sorry guys, we're gonna have to share the screen, of course. Okay, so let's share the screen here with you guys and take you on a macroeconomic journey. Okay, so if you take a look at all the currencies right now, the major ones, the ones that have lost the most this month is the Swedish krona. Sweden has really have lost a lot actually versus other currencies. It's worse, by the way, than the Japanese yen. I was talking about the Japanese yen. We look at the things there, and then we discover other things as we look at it. Because if you look at macroeconomics, you find problems that others might not be even caring to look for potentially. So yeah, as we can see here, the Swedish krona has lost more than the yen year over year. You got the Hungarian forint has lost a lot. More than any other, except for, of course, the Turkish lira, which has gotten completely whacked. And then, let's see here, who's lost most this month? The Canadian dollar, of course, because oil prices have gone a little bit up and down. They gone down a bit. You get loss in the Canadian dollar and the Norwegian krona, of course. Heavy oil-based currencies. Now, Canadian dollar hasn't lost as much as the US dollar, but it's pretty damn bad right now. Let's go and take a look at our, that's where I live here in Canada, so this has implications, of course. Now, if you look at historical scales here, at the end of the 80s was one time when this happened, that it was so high. And at the peak of the dot-com bubble, interestingly enough, Canadian dollar was at its worst to the US dollar. So we'll see what's gonna come of this. All I know is that a lot of currencies have lost a lot to the US dollar. Again, next one, Polish zloty. You got the South African rand. The Swiss franc is losing a lot. Interestingly enough, we'll look at it and see. We talked about Credit Suisse. We're gonna talk a lot more about that later. You got the Chilean pound. No, peso, I think it is, so not pound. Japanese yen. The ruble has lost quite a bit this month to the US dollar. The DXY went up to peak of 115, and then it looks like it's just on the way up here. I think it might continue. Like a lot of people think it will continue and become really nasty at one point. Probably in 2023, it's the peak of the worst of this might happen. So get ready for it. Okay, and then I got the Indian rupee is lost to the US dollar and so on. Chinese yuan, Danish krona, Turkish lira a little bit, but year over year, it's the worst performing currency of the majors. Brazilian real hasn't lost that much. On par, Hong Kong dollar, Mexican peso. The British pound has lost quite a bit. So has the euro. The New Zealand dollar has lost actually the most here. Now, this looks weird because it's like actually swapped around here. It's New Zealand dollar to US dollars, not US dollars to New Zealand dollars. So the negative is actually positive, which is being positive is negative. Currencies, you gotta have good times with them. As you can see, there's some serious losers here. The Pakistani rupee here, New Zealand dollar and Australian dollar has lost a lot. Not as much year over year though. The Pakistani rupee is in the top of the losers year over year. If you go and look here quickly, you can see the tops here. Swedish krona, fifth on. Swedes, what are you doing? Okay, so let's take a look at Europe here. And we went through all of them here. Let's see here, month on month. Yeah, as you can see, there's not too much to mention here. Like these are just regular like Romanian is it Neva? I forgot. Yeah, anyways, you can see there's some that are lost a bit, and then the Moldovan currency, is that Libra maybe? Oh, Liv. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in English. The Icelandic krona, kronor, as they call them. The Bulgarian lev, not leva, has also lost. Okay, we're going to the Americas. Let's look at month on month there. The Colombian peso, biggest loser. Then you have it's taken over for the Argentinian peso. Haitian currency, what is this? Gorde has lost quite drastically. The Canadian dollar is losing as bad as the Gorda. You got peso in Chile is down. Venezuela is losing a lot, as you can see year over year as well. Let's look at who's the worst year over year performing currency here. Suriname dollar. Yeah, Suriname. Colombia. Canada's on the top. That's not a good place you want to be, Canada. See, all these currencies here are doing better than you. They're third world currencies. Welcome to the third world, Canada. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the Asian markets year over year. The Laotian kip has lost tremendous amount of value. And this is nothing new. You know, a lot of these currencies cycle through destruction through hyperinflation or devaluations. That's currency's life cycle. So nothing new there that a lot of these currencies are losing a lot. And as you can see here, the worst year of year is of course Sri Lanka has been whacked, but also like look at this, the Laotian. Now they're a tiny country, but still they're in big trouble. They've been kind of off my radar, so we'll have to look at that. Maybe I need to accumulate some of their currency units because I save hyperinflated currencies. I don't know how this is going to be. I might not have the money to buy all these because all of them are failing. But we're gonna, go through them all here. So for monthly, you go, the Mongolian tanga. It's a tanga. Oh, Tagrik. Lost a lot this month. Japanese yen is the third worst performing in Asia. Thailand baht. Malaysian ringgit. Yeah, that's right. Also lost quite a bit. Korean won 3% monthly. That's also a lot of, that's a huge swing, by the way. Like currency markets didn't used to be this volatile, but we're entering into the global currency reset, so it makes sense that it's a lot of chaos right now in currency markets. So let's go further down here. Chinese yuan, Philippine peso, Taiwan dollar, 2%. Yeah, spec. Let's see the worst losers here. As you can see, a lot of them, everybody keeps on losing. The shekel lost 10% year over year, but these here are in big trouble. Like even in Pakistan, they're in trouble. So, and there's a lot of other ones too as well. If these countries have US dollar denominated debt, they'd be in a lot of trouble. As you can see here, better performing ones is the Arab Peninsula ones, where they're stronger because of the current prices of oil, of course, which is their only export in many of these countries. And the Lebanese pound. Now, did Lebanon just like, did they create a new currency now? Hard to tell. Look at this. Yeah, of course, like this is not real, guys. Like we know that Lebanon is in a huge hyperinflation and are totally devastated. So yeah, good luck with those numbers. I don't trust any of that. The Armenian dollar is actually strengthened quite a bit here. Very interesting. It's a currency, of course, in the region of war. Tajikistani currency has strengthened. So has the Georgian one as well. It'd be interesting. Maybe we should, at the end of it, let's just do this just to pull it up for the end. We're gonna pull up the World Gold Council to see if this has something to do with the strengthening of these three currency. Actually, the Afghanistani. What are the currency now? Afghani. Surprise. Has dropped down, gone back down in value. Very interesting. We're nearing the end of currencies in several ways, not just in this video. Let's take a look at month here. You got, yeah, again here, everybody's losing. The worst loser is the Australian dollar, then the New Zealand dollar. That's Oceania's. And then we got in Africa, the worst losers here is the Sierra Leone, is the worst loser this month, dropped 12.45%. You got the Ghanaian, what is the Ghanaian again? Zedi has lost 9%, very much. So Ghana seems to be in a lot of trouble here, as you can see year over year as well. We'll take a look sooner on others. Zimbabwean dollar keeps on losing. Which one is this? Lesotho Luti is also losing month on month, as you can see. South African Rand, we talked about the Eswatini or Swaziland. Dollar, like as you can see here, they lost a lot. Is there any winners? South Sudan pound, eh? You know, it's bad when the South Sudanian pound is outperforming the US dollar. And as you can see here, the year over year is horrendous. Seychelles rupee has also outperformed. Interestingly enough, in the Seychelles, that's where a lot of crypto traders are. It's also a great tax haven. And then is this the Mauritanian currency? Yeah, Mauritanian rupee. Also did not too bad. Let's look at year over year quickly here. As you can see, the new Zim dollar is in a lot of trouble. Again, South Sudanian pound has collapsed. You got the Ghanaian currency, the Sierra Leonean, really bad shape, all of them. And then also bad shape is um Sudanian, so the northern Sudanian country, Eswatini, Lesotho, you got Malawi, South Africa is in real trouble, Egypt as well, Namibia, Ivory Coast, Morocco, and Botswana is in serious trouble as well. Okay, yeah, that's it for the currency markets, guys. We're gonna go quickly to the stock markets, take a look. Month over month, yeah, it's been pretty bad. This is a record, well, not a record. This is a low that hasn't been in a while that we're at as of this Friday. And as you can see, we're starting to near the peak before the crash in 2020. Look at how this crash looks like when you print money. Look at how tiny that crash looks now. It's like this crash here, but it's really crashed from up here, so it's way, way, way bigger. You know, it really puts it into perspective. Let's pull it further out here. You know, yeah, it looks a little bit more like the dot-com crash, this one, but even this one dwarfs that, the crash that we're in right now, from 1600 down to, you know, what would that be just in my head here? It would be a 40, near 35% drop, I think, from the peak, 35 or something, almost nearing 40. And some experts are saying that we're going to drop even further right now. So that's the Nasdaq. The Dow Jones and S&P 500 hasn't dropped as drastically, as you can see here. Still drop, but actually they are just around the levels of the 2020 peak. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, so look at that. Like, let's just quickly look at some of the winners. Yeah, Chevron is hugely up here, as you can see. Health companies because they're poisoning people. The worst performers. Oh, JP Morgan is almost one of the worst. Interesting. We're gonna hear from Jamie to see what the scumbag is up to. Again, you know, worst performing here again at bank, Goldman Sachs. Even American Express, they're starting to struggle on because of the collapse in the debt markets. And of course, when inflation collapses up, the debt and everything is really struggling right now, and we're in huge trouble. Let's look at Europe. Biggest losers monthly is Moscow. Big time drop, 20%, half of what, of course, the Nasdaq has lost. And then you got the Portuguese markets drop, but not so much year over year. Interesting. But they dropped 12.95%. You got the Euro 1200 company index as is down 11%, almost 12% monthly, and then 21% year over year. As you can see, it's just Europe is getting devastated, and so all these banks that are in Europe, including Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, even Societe Generale, you know, the southern European banks was in so much trouble, like Banco Popolare, Montepaschi di Siena in Italy. Like, there's a lot of bail-ins that happened there during 2011. No, 2016 was it? I forgot now, but they've been in a lot of trouble before. And as you can see here, Oldham, including Norway's Oslo Børs, Oldham are in trouble, but Oslo Børs, because of oil prices, have kept itself fairly without a loss year over year. And we take a look at Turkey here. Oh, Turkish stock markets are doing fantastic. Well, yeah. They seem to actually like not be performing too bad compared to inflation though. So that's a good thing. Now, the reason why this is such a good return, it's not really a good return. It's just that the currency has lost so much value. So yeah, it's naturally that it goes up. We're in deflationary state now, but that could quickly end up in a QE reversal and then into a totally insane hyperinflated bubble like the Venezuelan stock market. We'll see if they have the data for that anymore. We can look at that quickly before we go over to the next market, which is commodities. Yeah, as you can see, the worst performance year over year here. Poland. Poland is struggling because they probably have a lot of trade with Russia, even though they hate their guts. And then, interestingly enough, when of course, the Nord Stream got destroyed, very likely to be of some kind of American connection there to that incident. But what has happened there is that right at that, like around the same day or next day, Norway and Poland open up a new pipeline, which is interesting because, well, who's the head of NATO is Jens Stoltenberg. Just a little thought, anyways. The Ukrainian stock market, yeah, as you can see, that I don't think it's traded much. Like what's going on here in Ukraine, their stock market, yeah, not doing much after the war. In North America, Venezuela is doing great, which is not a good thing. Chile is a commodity index, very huge, so they're doing pretty well. That's not bad. And then Canada is, yeah, doing worse than other commodity-based countries. But we're destroying our currency. So compared to these countries that are actually getting a huge bump, Canada's in deep shit. Then in Asia, again, Lebanon has collapsed. It's basically gone. All the oil countries, most of them are up here on top year over year in performance. Monthly though, the Laotian stock exchange, so but their currency lost a lot more value than that, so not a good. And then for the biggest losers in Asia, it's Hanoi Stock Exchange. And then Hong Kong is down. You got Philippines, Sri Lanka, Kuwait, Jakarta, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand. Yeah, all of them are losing between 10 till 5 points here. Year over year, the biggest winners, yeah, as I said, the biggest losers though are these year over year. Lost quite drastically here, 40%. So pretty much like close to what Nasdaq has lost, really. Interestingly enough, in Oceania, they're also down all of them. New Zealand is the worst. They were the worst in lockdown, so they get the worst brunt of it from their stupid economic mistake of locking everybody down. Australia did too, so but both of them had pretty epic property bubbles as well on top of everything. In Africa, you got month over month here. You got the worst performers is Morocco, Namibian stock exchange down 5, Uganda, South Africa, Kenya. All of them are losing quite a bit, just in 1 month here. Not as much as the US ones though. Nairobi, as you can see, is lost the most. Then Uganda area, and then Morocco and Kenya. Okay, so we'll go to commodities. Let's see here. The best performing commodity right now is, of course, heating oil, which makes sense. We're entering fall/winter, so it's up quite a bit. Worst performing is natural gas, as you can see here. But it's just very drastically like going up and down. And as you can see here, like it doesn't look that bad here, but if you draw it out, you could see from what time here, you had 13.89 British pound per whatever measurement they use here. But it went from that up to 2,261 British pounds. Pretty insane. Yeah, so let's go back here. Oil is hasn't lost much. Coal has lost a bit. And then as you can see here, crude oil is just barely up, same with Brent, which is just the Norwegian oil. Crude is VTI from Texas. You got coal. The best performers year over year is coal, heating oil, and European natural gas price. Let's look at the precious metals plus some other metals, lithium included in there. Lithium is the best performing month on month. Iron and steel is struggling. Also copper a little bit. The winners is lithium year over year, titanium as well. Then the losers are steel massively and copper. And then as you can see here, you've got let's see where silver has lost 21%. And then gold as well. Now silver is connected to the real economy, so quite more than gold, as you can see, because gold is really money and in wealth insurance. For agricultural products, orange juice is up quite a bit. Cheese, milk, canola, rapeseed oil, and a few other sugar, tea, palm, lumber, corn. The ones that are falling down is sunflower oil, butter, rubber, wool, soybeans, rice, coffee, and cotton. Cotton has dropped quite a bit, as you can see. That probably has to do with, and of course, that we're in a gigantic world recession. They're saying that we're entering one. We've been in one for a while, and people are starting to struggle worldwide. Getting pretty angry, and we show a little bit of some crazy people that are getting mad. Yeah. So as you can again see year over year, oats, lumber, rubber, cotton, palm oil, they lost 40 to 20%. Biggest gainers year over year is orange juice, butter, potatoes. Interesting. But you can see they're up quite a bit in price here. Let's go look at potatoes. I haven't really looked at potatoes. Are they new or not? I'm not sure if they're new here on trading economics because I can't remember seeing them. But yeah, as you can see, it's fairly steady, but it's upward trending, kind of thing. Then for industrial metals, neodymium, which is a very important magnet. Lead, which is in all the batteries in cars and all these little scooters now, like little push like scooters that electric scooters that kids have. Any kind of small um, car batteries, most of them are lead, you know, and so on. So that is up quite a bit actually this month, but down year over year, as you can see. Month over month, the worst losers are fertilizer. Yes, because we're entering winter and the biggest producing places that use urea in their fertilizer. So that's why that's down probably. Zinc is down, palladium, nickel. The like nickel especially is very important in the Green New Deal. Biggest year over year is bitumen, crab pulp, gallium, neodymium, and urea ammonium. And then the losers are polyvinyl and magnesium, tin, aluminum, soda ash, zinc, iron ore. So as you can see, the world is entering a huge economic turmoil based upon that. Meats and eggs. So look at eggs again. They dropped actually weekly. They dropped 12%, but they're still monthly up 56.7%, pretty drastically. And then as you can see here, year over year is 261.86. Eggs in China, though, it hasn't gone anywhere near. Salmon is up a bit and huge year over year. Hogs are down and cattle prices and so on, but most of the meat prices are up except for poultry, which has dropped. Don't know why that is because well, it shows in Brazilian real, so I guess they don't have a problem with the so-called the flu, the bird flu, that we all might die from. Let's see energy prices everywhere. This is interesting. Look at Italy has dropped quite a bit now. Spain and Germany as well, which is good for them, but it's nowhere near like they're on a few years basis, their prices have gone up thousands of percent, which is just bankrupting everybody everywhere. You know, Netherlands now is really struggling because Nord Stream was a big part of both Dutch and German oil, like natural gas import to warm everything. And they're shutting down greenhouses now in Netherlands, for crying out loud. So yeah, yes, we're gonna go to bonds quickly. And as you can see here, let's go and look at the bonds that are in the most important bonds. As you can see, again, the 10-year is hitting a recent record high. It's above what we had in July. It's now above 4%. The question is now, will again there be a bailout in the US coming soon? Might or might not. We'll see. But here's the yield, as you can see. 2 years 4.5. So predicting that the Fed is going to raise rates. And let's see, what is the rate right now? If you go to sorry guys, money interest rate at the Fed is just currently at 3.25. So again, so it's predicting a 1% up. The long part of the term is that we're going down again, because the Fed will have to revert and probably start buying. You know, they'll end up like the Brits having to buy their longer end of the term. As also in Britain right now, they're doing quantitative easing, not only quantitative easing, but they started to do repo, and they extended it just very recent as well. They said that they were gonna, oh, just temporary, and nothing is temporary, guys. But look at this, how steep this went here. This is the 10-year, of course, but let's go and look at what really got whacked. I think it was the 30, or was it the 20? Well, as you can see here, it's pretty drastic. Let's put it out. Yeah, there we go. They get the gist of it. You know how drastic that was and how fast. You know, let's see here. It was July. It was 2.26. Now it's 4.85. So it's huge rise, and of course that made pension funds go bankrupt because they had to get rid of their their bond bets or so on. Leverage that they had didn't go so well for them. They had to be bailed out among probably several banks because now they're intervening in the repo markets as well. Bank of or in the gilt markets. Let's go back here. Sorry, guys. There we go. Let's take a quick look at Japan and see where Japan is, how Japan is doing here. They're steepening, but yeah, again, like it's nowhere. Let's see here, their low point for the 10-year was almost negative at one point. Let's look at Germany, guys, quickly here since we're at it. The German bond yields. As you can see, they're starting to steepen here as well. So Germany, Deutsche Bank, how are you doing? Might be in trouble. Okay, we're gonna look at the last one, which is the crypto markets. Of course, they've been following Bitcoin. I follow Bitcoin very closely every day, almost, and it's quite been following everybody else. Now look at this. Ripple is up quite a bit, but they still like have lost a lot. Avalanche might be at the verge of collapse. I remember that one got promoted by certain people. That's fantastic. All of the big projects in crypto has fallen quite drastically. There might be a time to buy soon. Some of these, including some of these probably. So yeah, that might be a very smart move. And then Bitcoin is down for the month. Let's look at monthly here. Yeah, as you can see, Stellar, that's Lumens, Uniswap, that's a decentralized exchange. As the most lost, Cosmos is the worst, Cardano, and then Polkadot, Ether, Chainlink, Litecoin. Bitcoin is one of the better ones, so the bigger ones. Monero as well, as you can see. Let's look at the biggest losers year over year. It's Binance, Polygon, and Monero is the better off ones actually right now. Of course, the Tether is scam, Ponzi scheme in my point of view. I know that maybe they'll sue me. Those idiots, they really think that we trust that their fund, which also holds, I think, Chinese real estate mortgage-backed securities to back Tether from rumors. Not so much rumors, maybe. Yeah. So they're in big trouble. Okay, we're gonna go and take a look at what's happening in the news, guys. And today, a couple of days ago, now 4 days ago, NATO will hold their annual nuclear exercise despite Russian warnings. Well, this has been going on, actually, I think on an annual basis from NATO. So it's not a big surprise that it's happening again. But due to the whole nuclear thing that's going on with Putin talking about it and so on, yeah, not I don't think Russia is too happy about it right now. Poland says it has approached the US about sharing nuclear weapons. It's like, hey, we want to have a nuclear power, so they really want to destroy, I think, some of them in leadership want to really destroy Russia because they hate them for, what has happened, of course, with Poland during the Second World War. They got invaded by the Russians and so on. Then they were in the Soviet Union for a while, and they like a lot of them didn't want that as well. So very interesting there, of course, a development. Then Russia is having exercises, live fire exercises up north in the Barents Sea, and of course they've had exercises before, but this is one of the bigger ones. I remember when I was up there, I don't remember seeing anything near this, like especially an activity in the Barents Sea. Most of it was, and as you can see, there's also a lot of yeah, this is mostly their, like their, what do you call their, holy moly. Can't believe that I'm getting words here, but their Navy, crying out loud, is having a massive exercise now up north because tensions are starting to, excuse me, tensions starting to get a little bit iffy between Norway and Russia right now, which they used to have better. But of course, after the former border commissioner Frodo was caught over in Russia. That kind of slowly deteriorated over time. I used to know Frodo, by the way. Very interesting to see a guy in prison in Russia that you gave secret documents, being caught with secret other documents in the same way. So Putin, Stoltenberg is also talking about, so he's the head of NATO. He's a Norwegian, of course, and he's talking about Putin's nuclear threats. So let's see what he has to say.
This morning, allies had a regular meeting of the nuclear planning group. It is important we continue to consult and coordinate on nuclear issues. President Putin's nuclear rhetoric is dangerous and irresponsible. We take these threats seriously, and we remain vigilant. We will not be intimidated. Any use of nuclear weapons would fundamentally change the nature of the conflict and have severe consequences. Russia knows that the nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought.
Which is
Allies
good.
were updated on NATO's long-planned deterrence exercise Steadfast Noon, which starts next week. This is routine annual training to ensure NATO's nuclear capabilities remain safe, secure and effective. NATO's nuclear deterrence preserves peace, prevents coercion and deters aggression.
Yeah. Something went wrong. Oh no. Anyway, so that's what Stoltenberg had to say. So yeah, it must never be fought. I totally agree with that. How about you guys stop, pushing and trying to make Ukraine into a NATO state? That might be a start too. I disagree with both sides, by the way. Both Russia and Ukraine and NATO. Most people there at the top, they're a bunch of corrupt politicians, of course, and so the only people that suffer through this is the people of all these countries, which is, I'm with all the people, not the morons in power. Okay, so seems like Xi Jinping has come out and he's alive, apparently. There's been talks about that he was put into a house arrest, I believe, somewhere. But it looks like he has resurfaced. Xi Jinping. Of course, China has a massive crisis on their hands in real estate, also in trust in their currency and so on. So, but they're also a big hoarder of gold. By the way, they're not shipping anything. Next one here, we got Biden is on all in on taking out China. It's like what we got to remember is when empires are on their last part of their lifespan, they tend to want to fight others, and of course they're afraid that China is going to get too strong. China doesn't want to do anything because they're too weak. So, but now it seems like they really want to take on China. But of course, Biden and other politicians like Pelosi and others have some good connections there in China with both themselves and their kids. Not to mention Ukraine, of course, where little Hunty and a few other sons or daughters are sitting on boards of different corporations out there. Let's take a look at what's happening in the UK right now. These climate activist kids are going all crazy. Let's take a look at what they just did to so if you into fine art, you'd be a little bit pissed off, I guess, from the deification of a recent Van Gogh painting. No superior! Security! I love the guy in the background. So, security? He sounds very unsure about himself. What to do with these little munchkins that are losing their shit because they think that the world is going to end in a few days.
What is worth more, or life? Is it worth more than food? Worth more than justice? Are you more concerned about the protection of a painting or the protection of our planet and people? The cost of living crisis is part of the cost of oil
Time to print
crisis.
more money!
Fuel is unaffordable to millions of cold, hungry families. They can't even afford to heat a tin of soup.
Well, that is true. She has one point there. She has one point there, which is very true, that they can't afford to heat their food to feed themselves. Probably a lot of people, yes, because as we talked about and we saw in the commodity prices, they're up quite drastically. And of course, like the Nord Stream, destroying Nord Stream 2 is not a good thing, even though that Russia is pumping in natural gas through the Ukrainian lines still that are going through Ukraine. Now the Ukrainian Gestapo, as I likes to call it, the SBU, actually is now putting a hit on none other than what's his name, Elon Musk. And yeah, they're not too happy. Let's see here. Kim.com says, want to know why Elon Musk is done helping Ukraine? Because when because he's just recently talked about how he's gonna, not give them free Starlink anymore. when the Ukrainian government doesn't get anything for free, they get pretty pissed off. Okay, so yeah, it's they already killed several people on that list and brag about it like it is an achievement. So yeah, so he's on a list to be murdered right now, Elon Musk, by the Ukrainian government that he helped, by the way, and he dared to utter the words that he's like, yeah, maybe you should just give up, the 4 oblasts that Russia annexed, and think that they're gonna get, and but they could have had peace talks in April, and of course NATO destroyed that. So now we're at the place we're at. We're just pure escalation, and they're just a bunch of morons right now. This is interesting. Um, Trending in Canada right now. This is just live right now, actually, as I looked at this. Trending right now in Canada is myocarditis. Interestingly enough, actually, I think we have a post about an article about this a little bit later on here. So look at that. This is from Ronald Stoffle, the guy of what is his thing called again? Incrementum AG, which puts out a fantastic report on gold every year. In Gold We Trust report, I believe it's called. But he's recently been in England, in London, and he's had some conversations. Boots on the ground, which is probably a lot better a lot of times than what you get from these stupid economists that are sitting in their ivory towers and have no clue what's going on. And so, as you can see here, 2 Uber drivers in London told me this week that they'll go back to their home countries, Poland and Bulgaria, because cost of living in the UK is far too high and rising rapidly. Quality of life too low, childcare a big issue, and bureaucracy is tedious. That's what they're saying. Interesting come from those countries. So that's happening in London right now. And then, of course, what else is happening in London? Here, we're going to accept these. I want cookies from Bank of England. Let's see here. Yeah, so they're talking about the Bank of England has today published results of its first supervisor's test of UK's central counterparties, CCPs. And this is, of course, part of the whole Financial Stability Board push to do it. The exercise took place over 2021, 2022 with the clearing services of all CCPs, ICE Clear Europe Limited, LCH LME, Clear Limited, and Scope. And so they just published that right now. And let's see here. Exercise also, let's see here what it says. The conclusion of the bank's first CCP stress test marks a major milestone in development in the supervision and regulation of CCP, so central clearing parties. While the stress test was exploratory with no pass-fail assessments. Okay, so they did a stress test, but nothing passed or failed. But this is the plan, though, as they continue to strengthen and become bigger. The Financial Stability Board used to push this into more and more central bank markets, of course. So just interesting little thing from them there. Then we have Bank of England widens its gilt purchases. So this is from the 11th, but it widens its gilt purchase operations to include index-linked gilts, so index bonds. So is that ETFs maybe? It's hard to say. The purpose of this operation is to address risks to the resilience from volatility in the long-dated gilt markets. LDI funds, yeah, so they're basically ETFs. It seems like they're coming after and bailing out. Are they putting them on their balance sheet? Maybe like Japan has done this already, by the way. Here, gilt market operation notice. Yeah, this is from October 10th. So sorry, guys. Cecil bond purchases by Friday, 14th of October. Yeah, right. As we saw, like I should put them in the right vicinity here. This is the same, just talking about the eligible collateral and all this stuff. That will see collateral securities. So SM Sterling Monetary Framework. So they're doing again what the Fed did with the SMCCF and PMCCFs, where they go in and buy anybody that's above triple B minus. And of course, I talked about this in great length before. The triple B minus from my latest derivatives report on corporate debt is that I think it's very interesting that most of corporate debt is sitting at triple B, which is interestingly enough, if you go below triple B, now you're non-investment grade versus if you're above it, you're investment grade and pension funds and everybody can invest in it. So probably there's something to do with pension funds struggling here as well. They did the same exact thing in the US in 2019, 2020, when they put in these programs, of course. Again, we're looking at, yeah, this is again just talking about this. Now, let's actually go back. Let's go and see if they have any new news releases here. As we're doing this live, guys. Let's see, this was today. Yeah, and this is the Governor of Bank of England, Andrew Bailey. We are meeting in the most difficult times. And in that saying, we should start by recognizing that however difficult each other positions are, that is nothing compared to the suffering inflicted on the people of Ukraine. Now, there's a lot of people though that are starting to suffer and starve, of course, in the UK as well, as people get poorer and poorer. So I don't know. You're the judge to that, of course, as the UK is destroying their own economy. Their pound is garbage. They're losing their pension funds. Sustained recovery from the COVID disturbance. COVID disturbance. Government lockdowns, motherfucker. Sorry for using the language, but I had enough of these morons. Second, it is said that central banks, including Bank of England, were wrong a year or so ago to emphasize the transient nature of these shocks, and thus how monetary policy should respond. No and yes is my response to that. No and yes. Yeah. Anyways, but he's just talking about all this bullshit. Yeah, he's just BSing people, trying to walk around that. Basically, Bank of England is really struggling, and this was given at look at where he was speaking, guys. If anybody's familiar with this, so let's he went to the G30. What is the G30, guys? Annual International Banking Seminar in Washington, D.C. Oh, so that was today. Interesting. It was happening right now. If nobody is familiar, I've been exposing this group for a while. It's a think tank called Group 30. And let's take a quick look at them. Come on, if it could load, please. But the International Banking Seminar, so they have 2 meetings annually. One in Washington, D.C., which is this is the 37th annual one. And then they have one at any other central bank around the world. Now, this is interesting. Their website is not working. Maybe we'll go back to that if it loads or not. But let's go. Oh, here we go. Finally. So as you can see here, Group 30. And by the way, let me show you something funny about the Group 30. I infiltrated a Group 30 not too long ago. I got to show that video. And of course, as you can see, it was Timothy Geithner, one of the head criminals, of course, over there. Let me see if I can find it here. No, it's probably, oh, maybe it's, no, it's not there. This is just my website, by the way. Economic analysis, maybe? I just gotta find where I posted this. Oh yeah, here we go. So let me just show you this. So again, let's just move it back here. To, of course, like this was the Group 30, which is a bunch of these criminals. As you can see, Draghi or Gurmarjan, you got Mohamed El-Arian, Lawrence Summers, and Guillermo Ortiz, all these central bankers. Yeah, look at this should tell you everything, like Mark Carney and Jan Jelen about green transition. There's Kenneth Rogoff, the head cashless criminal push, and Timmy Geithner, you know, the former Treasury Secretary of the United States during the collapse in 2008. Now, let's see what I had to ask these buffoons and see what their answers were. Like, here we go.
Thank you. We have a question from John Sinison. What concerns do you have regarding the de-dollarization? And can the Fed handle a potential U.S. Treasury exodus?
Jeremy, do you want to?
I love their facial expressions.
Yeah. No, I mean, just other than, you know, as Tim said, I think at the outset, the fact that the Treasury market is sort of the central fundamental market.
It's such a fundamental. Look at what happened in Bank of England. It's all fine, guys.
Adds some urgency to sort of the general thrust of what we're about. But beyond that, I don't know that I'd say much else.
I would like to add to that. I agree with Jeremy that the safer and sounder the U.S. Treasury market is, the more it supports the use of the dollar in international finance.
That's what Saudis are exiting, and everybody else is exiting, guys.
Investors, and because of that demand, it lowers the taxpayers' bill to meet U.S. fiscal deficits.
Taxpayers' bill. Sorry, guys. Sorry for laughing.
Thank you. We have another.
Yeah, so that was funny. That was my little sneaking. I snuck into their annual Q&A that they did. This guy, of course, Andrew Bailey, was speaking at their annual symposium. So I thought that was just fun just to show it. Now, this is another one here, another one, and he's a member of the Group 30 as well, which I call the Bilderberg of finance. But here is Augustus Carstens, you know, the man that ate all the money. This is the man that ate he inflated. He keeps on inflating with the monetary system. Is he eating all the money? I don't know. Let's see what he has to say, though.
For example, who's using a $100 bill today? We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
Augustine, I totally agree with you. You are clearly a man of moderation.
By the way, guys, this is Klaus
very reasonable.
Jr.
We should not just give the slaves their paper for wages. We don't have dominance over this. We should call them like with strings attached slave vouchers for like, oh yeah, CBDC. Yeah, this is good.
For example.
So by the way, that guy, which is hilarious. I love this guy. His name is Klaus Jr. He's a comedian. he's doing a lot of fun things where he basically acts like he is I think it's the son of Klaus Schwab. He just amused me very much. He just little clips and everything. But again, CBDC is pretty serious, and I think what we're entering now is a potential reset of the world economy, and of course we should take that very seriously, because the only time that we had both bonds and stocks being negative yielding, no, sorry, I think yeah, and bonds is in 1931, and then in 1969, and then 2022. Well, what's up with those years? They're not in any currency risk year, but both of these two prior ones were 2 years before we had a global reset of the monetary system, or the U.S. monetary. You had the Gold Act of 1933 that took away the gold, and then they created an exchange stabilization fund to control the stability of the currency, and that included before gold to make sure that they would manipulate the prices basically to make sure that the dollar was fine. And then you had in 1969 was 2 years before Nixon took the world off the gold standard basically, when everybody was trying to get gold, and then they ran out of gold almost in the United States, and so Nixon took them off. At that time, though, you were allowed to buy gold. Gold skyrocketed, by the way, up from 35, I think it was, up to 850 or something at the time. So just wait for what is coming because of reset. But if this reset ends up being what Carson's Jabba over there at Biz at the Bank of International Settlements, if he gets his way, we'll all be slaves, and he could track every single move. And of course, in the G30 group, Kenneth Rogoff, I'll show up here right away. Let's wait for us, scum. He wrote a book called The Curse of Cash in 2016, where he then laid out how to get to a cashless society, which is now turned into central bank digital currencies. Yeah, there he is. This is Kenneth Rogoff here. So again, things are coming and getting bad. And other news that this is, you can't get it better these days. Obama, of course, got the Peace Prize. Well, what is better than then to give Ben Shalom Bernanke the Nobel Prize in economics for his work on, guess what? The global financial crisis, where he was like, just days before, there's no issues in the mortgage markets. It's all safe. We're all good. Oh, I don't know even what to say anymore. But we're in a twilight world, that's for sure. Then what's happening here? GE lays off workers at onshore wind unit as a part of turnaround strategy. What the hell happened here? Like, I thought we were supposed to go green, and GE is turning around. I guess everybody's in Europe now is starting to use coal, turning back to oil and other things, and then of course wood to heat their homes because they're dying because of stupid, moronic politicians on all sides, especially in Europe. Committing suicide just to probably push. I think this has to do with the whole agenda of the United Nations and the World Economic Forum of you own nothing and be happy. It's going to be you own nothing and be really fucking pissed off. That's what's going to end up happening in Europe. And the pitchforks are coming out everywhere. There's protests all over the place right now. And it used to be like before COVID, remember all the protests? I don't know if you remember or not, but I was covering a lot of them. And what was happening is they just got worse and worse. And then you had the Yellow Vest that really peaked off in it, both in Hong Kong and in France with massive riots over, you know, several months. And then suddenly COVID came and you can't protest anymore. Conveniently enough for the elites. But anyway, so you see like this turnaround from green to black, if you can call it. And I don't think our buddy Mark Carney over here would love to see this. You know, the green man, as I call him, or Al Gore, that, you know, that was dealing in credit and carbon credits and so on. And of course in Canada right now, where I think they're just pushing for another increase, of course, in carbon taxes to bankrupt everybody. I think, like, what else is it gonna be? Like, they attacked, you know, small, medium-sized businesses during COVID, and now they're attacking them again. So I don't know what we're looking at here. Well, I kind of like, if you look at these think tanks and all these elites around the world, and you look at what they're believing and thinking of, it becomes quite clear over time what they're actually like, where we're heading. And I think it is not at a good place. They're planning to destroy the middle class and bankrupt them, so they could just have rich and poor, and they could be on the rich side. Again, some more humor today, guys. I'm in a humorous corner today. Because this is a lot of fun, you know, watching these morons. You know, we got Ben Bernanke getting the prize in the Nobel Prize in economics, for crying out loud. But here again is, you know, we got COVID. There's clips of this with COVID I think I might have shown before, but like how it progressed over time, and that's the same stupid academics opening their mouths. And let's see what they have to say about the economy.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down.
Yeah,
no one's talking about this great, you know.
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand.
I don't know
anybody who's worried about inflation.
And over the last couple of
still
months,
going up.
We actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said, in part, most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, etc., are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon
it's your money printing, you morons.
At the peak of the crisis right now, and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
Ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent.
Anyways, so I thought that was pretty humorous from our good friends over at.
I really doubt that we're going.
So yeah, that was pretty funny. And there's more people in trouble. Federal Reserve probing Bostic, you know, one of the head at the Atlanta Fed, one of their jurisdictions. So they got 11, you know, feds around the United States. And he's the head of one of them, the Atlanta Fed, and he's being probed. Guess what? Insider trading. These little morons, you know, and of course all the politicians. You know, Nancy Pelosi, they need a Nancy Pelosi AI to follow her trades. Because whatever she puts in, you know, or proposes as legislation that gets passed, she seems to magically have some connection to having a little bit of that in defense. It has nothing to do with that she understands exactly what will happen, of course, but yeah, whatever. We got the world's emergency lending capacity is getting stretched as crisis deepens. So again here, We'll take a look. And so as you can see here now, distressed debt is growing right now. And yeah, it's at 13%. It's not that much more, but as you can see here, this is like the number of nations in or at higher risk of debt stress has grown. So yeah, here you can see, as you can see from, let's see, before COVID, yeah, 37%, then 43. So it's growing, and also the people that are in very low is actually also decreasing quite drastically. Sorry, my dogs are barking in the background here because my wife's coming home. We are going to take a quick look at the central bank liquidity swap operations that's going on, because that might connect you to some of the stress that's going on around the world. And what we're going to do here, let's quickly do this. We're going to go from the 1st of September till today. And then we're going to search at the liquidity swap operation. So this is the Federal Reserve extending credit lines to other central banks to prop them up. As you can see here, it started with Bank of Japan. Then you started to see stress here in on the 15th of, 14th of September with the Swiss National Bank, and that probably is connected to Credit Suisse being in a lot of trouble. Then they started to extend credit liquidity swap lines to the European Central Bank at the same time, and also Bank of England. And that's so this happened before we actually saw the current bailout. So there was a lot of the stress that nobody was talking about, of course, to the general public until they have a bank fail in that they're gonna have to be bailed in and so on, or the pension funds are gone. So the general public won't know about this, but it started on the 14th of September, which is like, this is funny how it starts almost exactly at the 3-year anniversary of the repo collapse in the United States. Yeah, just 3 days of a difference. You can see here they again then rolled them over, I believe. Yeah, some of them. This is to the European Central Bank again. But there's been recently, you could see them increasing here. Like, look at just at the 5th of October here to the Swiss National Bank, $3 billion in a liquidity swap. Then they opted a week later to 6.270. So who knows where it'll be. On the 19th will be the next one. So we'll probably cover that in a later one, but it seems like we got big trouble in Europe, in European banks. And then, of course, there was some trouble in Japan. And there might be some more trouble coming soon. But as you can see, there's just 3 million. So not very much, but it's really increasing drastically here. This is the one that, of course, could be. And if you go and look at Credit Suisse here, Credit Suisse CDS, 5-year CDS. We're gonna go and see if we can find a chart here quickly. Let's see here. Go CNBC maybe. Yeah, here we go. So as you can see now, it's gone down a little bit, but it's still at record highs. The default rate possibility for Credit Suisse. So yeah, they still might be in trouble again. But we'll talk about this. But as you can see here, this is the plumbing, that are starting to deteriorate again, and at 3 years of a difference from the old repo crisis, basically, like very close to it. It started, and it started with ECB, and as you can see here, Credit Suisse potentially with their central banks being bailed out to then be able to bail out their local banks and so on. And as you can see here, we'll take a look at this, of course. Since we were on the repo crisis, these were the ones that were bailed out in the initial, when the repo market blew up to 10% in interest. You saw a bailout initially of 53.150 billion. And as you can see here, JP Morgan was bailed out, UBS Switzerland was bailed out. Goldman Sachs, BNP Paribas, Cantor Fitzgerald, Citibank, Nomura, Societe Generale, Bank of England, Bank on Scotia Bank in Canada, Barclays, Deutsche Bank, Morgan Stanley, Jefferies, TD, Mitsu Securities, RBC, BMO, Amherst, Pierpoint, Diva Bank, and these were the ones that were initially, and NatWest was the last one. That was the initial bailout in the repo collapse. And as you can see, they go slowly up here. And let me just pull up. You can see my dashboard. This is actually my dashboard where I work. In general, let's just go here. I'm going to show you the online version instead. It's way better. Let's go to this. Oops, that doesn't work that well. Let's just use this. But as you can see here, let's look at the repo interventions there. And at the peak, it was over 149, 150 or something billion dollars at the peak, and that was during, of course, the market collapse here in March of 2020 when they were going to start doing the lockdowns. So you can go to my website actually and find this data under the economic truth, and it's on the front page. You'll find the repo data, but I track treasury purchases, as you can see here. You got mortgage-backed security purchases. This is Federal Reserve that I'm tracking. Commercial backed mortgages, commercial mortgage-backed securities. Also track the Exchange Stabilization Fund and their programs that they run through it. As you can see here, these are programs that were implemented to bail out and try to prop up the economy. Some of them are still running, by the way. As you can see here, they still are not down to zero. And as you can see here, it is the purchases over time. And these are the submitted. So I watch what gets submitted and what gets purchased. And this, of course, the Fed's balance sheet. As you can see here, it's going down quite more rapidly than the decline last time from 20. Was it the peak was basically around here 2014, and then they started to sell off with a more rapid recline. If you could call it rapid or not, I don't know. But as you can see here, you're starting to see it. This time they're going a lot faster, and that's where you're seeing we're hitting trouble a lot faster. And then, of course, this list here has to do with who gets bailed out or not. And let's see if Credit Suisse is on here, guys. We go up here. Yeah, there they are. And this is the Financial Stability Board I've talked about. They were talking about Bank of England here initially, that they were implementing stuff from the Financial Stability Board, which is the overarching control mechanism of all banking in the world and all financial system, like including accounting, including the stock markets and so on. They try to basically have one regulator, which is called the Financial Stability Board, that sits there and try to control the whole financial world by regulating it. Not a lot of people are aware of it, but it's there and it's doing its work. You can see it trickling into Bank of England and other places. I have a big presentation that I will do a video soon. I did one for a good friend of mine, David Morgan, that I did for his. So like the same presentation, I plan to make a video out of very soon. Federal officials trading stocks, yeah, again, of companies in the agencies that they oversee. Nobody cares anymore. You got these politicians just basically huge insider trading, right? Here we go again. Banks here drops uncomfortable truth of green energy. We have it completely backwards. And this is Jamie Dimon talking about but again, if you listen to one of my friends, Chris Galatio, he is saying that the whole climate change thing from bank perspective is just to make money. Nobody cares about the environment. It's just a big scam, basically. You got a very interesting thing from a former French presidential candidate, shocks the world. He says that Macron and most MPs are not vaccinated. If we know if that's not true or not, I don't know, but he is coming out and talking about this just recently after the current election and so on. You got problems, and we were talking about that myocarditis is now trending in Canada on Twitter massively. Florida Department of Health, men ages from 18 to 39 should not take the mRNA coronavirus shots, and that has to do with the myocarditis. Just based upon the risk of dying versus dying from the vaccine is higher with the vaccine. From what they're saying here, the head of the Florida Department of Health here is saying, what's his name now? Yeah, I forgot his name, but he went. He actually has a video too where he comes out and talks about it at Tucker Carlson that I saw recently. We're gonna go quickly and look at some very quick logins here. We're gonna yeah, we're gonna go and look at gold because we're looking at some central banks. Oh, sorry guys. Just have some technical difficulties for some reason. My password. Oh well, I guess we're not. Let's screw it. I think that it has to do with some gold purchases that we were looking at with some of the I think it was currencies that we were looking at, if I'm not mistaken. I think there was Asian. Yeah, with these guys, like especially Georgia and Armenia, Tajikistan, they might be buying some gold. Actually, let's see if we got any documentation on that. If we go to money, we might have. Where would it be under now, guys? Yeah, probably don't have any. Well, you know what? We'll do a episode of maybe the gold purchases of central banks very soon because I think it will soon. See the gold prices are still down, but we're gonna take a look at and see what will happen. Around the world. It'll be very interesting to say the least with what is coming. And I think a lot of these central banks are positioning themselves to get ready for a dollar collapse. Let's stop sharing here and then we'll just do a wrap up. Yeah, so again, a lot of things are happening around the world, and I personally position myself right now. I'm purchasing precious metals right now, and like especially silver. And I'm purchasing also commodity stocks still. I am still buying up on commodity stocks because I see this pressure coming through with more and more inflation coming. And of course, during any collapses of currencies, which it looks like we might be soon entering, having real things is the key. And looking at several hyperinflations throughout history and talking to people that actually have lived through them, they're all telling me that you need food and water and real things. And if you do believe that the grocery stores are gonna make sure that you have everything, just no. You need to have it yourself. And people that really survived well during those crises, they had their own farms, they had their own food that they could grow and put on their own table, or they had a community that they could work with. Or they did, have precious metals and they became wealthy at the end of it. So I would say, get prepared because things are heating up here. If it's the war in Europe that could turn into a world, like it's kind of a small world war right now, because you got NATO versus Russia, of course, and some allies, and that could really blow up together with this whole financial crisis going on right now. And as you saw, all the liquidity swap lines being put up by, of course, by the Federal Reserve to other central banks because they have huge crises in their home countries. I think we could see a lot of issues coming very soon, and banks are really struggling. You see, bank returns. I posted this as of late. Where it showed that bank returns are abysmal this year. They're terrible. So get prepared and watch out and tread very carefully and prepare yourself to be more resilient and self-reliant, because if you're not in these coming crises, it's going to be key to have that, or else you'll be under the thumb of the government of receiving whatever universal basic income and you'll be under these central bank digital currencies, where they can control everything about you if you don't have any assets, outside of the banking system, to protect your own wealth and so on. So yeah, get prepared, guys, and we'll talk soon.